Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beniverse. My name is Ben Friedman, and for today's review, I am talking about the film Ride the Eagle, directed by Trent O'Donnell, starring Jake Johnson, Darcy Carden, Susan Sarandon, and J.K. Simmons. And this film is about a 30-something-year-old man named Leaf who is in this period of arrested development when he discovers that his mother, who he has been estranged from, named Honey, played by Susan Sarandon, dies, and he learns that he gets her cabin, but she has some stipulations on how he can receive this cabinet, and it leads to this just emotional story about mother and son and rekindling just a family dynamic that had previously been broken. And it's a movie about Jake Johnson moving forward, and he has continued to surprise me as an actor. After seeing him originally on New Girl, I really just did not expect him to come out as such a force of an actor. And I know that he has really rooted himself in comedy. Even the role that I really started taking notice of him as Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse, that is a role that is rooted in comedy. However, you see a lot of heart and dramatic elements in that performance, and in Ride the Eagle you see that tenfold. He is able to bring that humor and down to earth nature that as a performer, which is I think what grounds this film, but he's also to really get into the dramatic elements when he's processing the loss of a mother who he hasn't really known and has such mixed feelings for. It's really something special to see on screen. He has such a natural chemistry with his co-stars, specifically Darcy Carden from The Good Place and Barry. They have such a romantic chemistry that feels palpable, and yet there's a little bit of distance, specifically because of where Jake Johnson is in his life. I think what is so impressive about the performance isn't that it's just down to earth, but it's so complicated just because of his situation. The film is so complicated. You really get to see all elements of him dealing with the stages of grief. In a lighthearted movie, this film is a really easy hour and a half watch. It's not overly emotional, but it's also not overly comedic. It's just a story about life and a chapter in this man's life in a weird section of time for him. And ultimately, what really worked for me, besides Jake Johnson's performance, was also the ability to just capture a time in life for a person. It's this screenplay, which I think is absolutely beautiful and hasn't been talked about enough this year. It's so natural and emotionally charged, but vulnerable. There's a sense of just self-discovery in it, and they're able to capture human emotions so well in this story. And I think that comes from the screenplay, but also Trent O'Donnell as a director, who is able to convey a sense of pain, but also a process of healing in it. It's a very naturalistic way of directing and cinematography that is able to capture how do I describe it? It's able to capture the pain and beauty of life, where it's a lot of bright colors mixed with dark. It's a lot of shots of nature. It's very simple in its execution. It's never overly flashy, but it just shows a state of mind, and just the tranquility of nature is able to just kind of at times convey the emotion Jake Johnson's character is feeling. You see scenes where everything seems calm and peaceful, which is supposed to reflect how Johnson's feeling in the film. And then you see where nature's going a little bit more. There's a little bit more wind. It's a little bit more rushed and bristle as Jake Johnson deals with turmoil in this film. It's a really great device used by the director to convey certain emotions. And ultimately, I think, like I said, This movie hasn't been talked about enough. Its lead performances are great. Susan Sarandon is able to just reflect reflect on a character that the audience is supposed to have a predisposition to, and she's able to make us sympathize with somebody who is a bad mother, essentially by her own calling. And it's by the end of this film, where he is from the beginning to where the end, we really get to see this character grow. Jake Johnson's character, I mean, grow in a way that feels natural and progressive, but nothing deeply changing. Sometimes an issue with films is a character starts from A to B, and then it's just like, okay, but B is so drastic that it doesn't make sense. This is not that. It is kind of more of a step where he's at like from step A to just like step A and a half. He's healing. You see him growing, but it's not all there yet. He's learning to accept this trauma and process that he's with. I like that in it. It's nothing, it's a hopeful message because it's telling us that we can all move forward, even if moving forward isn't necessarily the fastest thing. So anyway, Ride the Eagles has been supremely underlooked. It came out in July. It hasn't made a ton of money. Not a lot of people have heard about it. I got to see because it was on iTunes for, I think, 99-cent rental on Thanksgiving, so I got to check it out then. But it's a really beautiful and heartwarming film that, if I had to kind of compare it to another film, it really reminded me of Peanut Butter Falcon with just the tranquility and cinematography of nature, but with this down-to-earth story. That's what it reminded me the most of. Again, this one's a little bit more comedic and a little bit more self-examination. But ultimately, this film, Ride the Eagle, is a really sweet and extremely underrated film of this year that I really want more people to see because of what Jake Johnson brings to this performance, as does Darcy Carden. I just think it's a film that had more people heard of it or had more people initially sought it out, I think this would be a much bigger film this year. And yeah, this is just another impressive performance for me from Jake Johnson, who I'm convinced in the next 5 years is going to be one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. So yeah, that's my review of Ride the Eagles. So thank you for listening. Take care. I'll be back this week. I know I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is my next review. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Take care all. Bye bye.